Welcome back to another installment of the Quarantine Chronicles. I know it's been a little bit, been busy doing some other stuff, taking care of some client projects and all that, but I had something I was excited about working on and something that I've been working on myself that I needed to work on, and I wanted to share it with you guys. But before we get into today's video, I've been trying to share a sponsor for each one of these. So today's sponsor is TRIARC Systems. This is from their aerial gunnery. Shout out to those guys, they're amazing. For those of you who don't know, I do work with TRIARC, I do contract work with them. So I produce a lot of their photos and video and do some other stuff behind the scenes. I don't receive free product. I still got to buy my guns. A lot of people are like, oh, well, he can get whatever he wants, or, he can go shoot whatever he wants, and he just goes and takes whatever he wants out of the store because he's sponsored and he gets paid and all this. Look, if that was the case, you really think I would have one Tri-11 and only 2 rifles? So I'm not, I don't get paid for this or anything like that, but Goon Life gets you 5% off. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but down in the description, there's a link. And in that link has links to any coupon codes that'll save you guys money. I don't make any money off it. It just saves you guys some cash. But speaking of sponsors and people who are helping out, shout out to Big Tex Outdoors. They have sponsored the monthly Average Joe's Challenge, and they've added this to the care package. So we've got a care package for the winner of that. If you haven't seen that, go check out, I think it was my last video before, I don't remember. Go check out the Average Joe's Monthly Challenge. Go find Average Joe's on Instagram. Search Average Joe's Monthly Challenge and you'll find it. Put your submission. We're going to pick the fastest time. You guys need to do this on clean targets because it is a cold start. But we're going to pick a winner at the end of the month, and this will be in the care package along with some other stuff from us. But again, thanks Big Tex Outdoors. So speaking of Average Joe's, something coming up, or something, we've been kind of hinting at and talking that we've had some big things in the works, things we're excited about, things we've been talking about and working on. And we are going to continue to do Average Joe's. We're just, again, waiting for things to open up and for ammo prices to come around. And it's starting to get there. So we're working on announcing the next Average Joe's here in Texas. We're going to continue to do those. The goal has always been to do those once a month here in Texas. But due to the demand, we thought it would be good to take it on the road. So we're going to take Average Joe's on the road. And if you follow me on Instagram, you already know this. But we're opening it up to you guys. Where do you guys want to see us go? So Vegas is a lock for us because we have a ton of friends in Vegas, and there's a lot of people who've already asked us, hey, come to Vegas, come to Vegas. So we're working on making that happen. But we want to go somewhere else too. So where do you guys want to see us go? We've had a few people mention the Pacific Northwest. We've had a few people mention like Florida or like the East Coast. But wherever the most people are and there's a range that'll take us, we'll go there. So leave it in the comments below. Comment right now down below where you want to see us go, but also comment what you want to work on. So we try to structure these loosely. So we have a few drills, we have some competitions and things like that. But we want to make sure you're getting the most out of your time with us. Yeah, we're hanging out, we're having a good time, but we also want to get in some solid training. So what are some things you want to work on? I know on Instagram we've had a ton of people already talk about like malfunctions, shooting on the move, working around barricades, working from concealed. So let me know in the comments down below, where do you want to see us go, and what is something you want to work on at the next Average Joe's. All right, let's get into today's episode. Where today's episode comes from is I actually posted this video up on my Instagram a couple weeks ago. We were out on range, a bunch of the guys who were like OG Average Joe's, and we were working through some drills, and Brandon put us through this new drill, and it was a fun drill, had a great time. But I noticed a couple of things in there that I needed to work on, particularly when it comes to shooting on the move. And that's something personally that I've been working on and trying to find ways around. And then I've also been getting a lot of DMs and comments about guys saying, man, I wish I had a range like that. I wish I had a range where I could move and shoot and work on these things, or like I had a place I could go, or you're still stuck in quarantine so you can't get out to go try it. So that got me thinking, how can I improve my shooting on the move without going to the range? Yes, there is an aspect of it of going to the range that you need to try that, but what can I do to improve as much as possible? So I came up with 3 tools to help me improve my shooting on the move, and it's these 3 household items. Look at that. What we got here is so you've seen this before, and this is just a grip tool, and we'll explain what each of these is for. We've got a sledgehammer, 15 pound sledgehammer, and then a couple of Nerf guns. Let's go to the video that I posted, and then we can kind of walk through where these come in. So when I posted this video, immediately, as soon as I finished the drill, I was talking to Jonathan, one of the guys there, one of the Average Joe's, and talking to Brandon. And one of the issues I have is going to the right, I'm pretty okay, but going to the left, I really struggle. And if you'll notice, my right foot sort of drags over. And one of the things we were trying to focus on was pointing your toes to where you want to walk or where you're trying to move. and then rotating your body up against that towards the target. And I really struggled with that. So I would point my left foot where I wanted to go and my right foot towards the target. It was this kind of like awkward step over thing. So I started practicing that at home. And then I was like, okay, so what are some tools that I can use to help me do that? So that's where the grip trainer comes in. So how this starts off is it's a progression. So I start off with the grip strength tool. And what I'll do is I'll run this, essentially part of this drill that Brandon had us do. And I'll go down, and one-handed, I'll go down to the right side, and then I'll go down to the left side. And all I'm doing is making sure that my feet are pointing to where I want to go, and then I'm turning my body against and keeping that tight grip strength, right? So I'm trying to keep it held tight. The reason I use this is because the tendency is that when we, for whatever reason, when we go to shoot on the move, we want to really like crank down because it starts to move. You start to see that if you're using a red dot, you see the sight bounce, or you see your iron sights go up and down. And so the tendency is that we got to grip down tighter, but the tighter it is, the harder we grip, the more it bounces. If we think about sports cars, right? Like a track car, think Indy car versus rally car. An Indy car has a very stiff suspension because it's driven on a track. A rally car has a very soft, supple, loose suspension so that it can take those bumps and go over jumps, things like that, right? So we want to be more the rally car side, less of the Indy car side. So we don't want to over grip the gun. And the reason I use this is because it like connects my muscles and my brain. Okay, this is how hard I need to grip the gun. And then so as I'm walking, I know that I don't have to grip it any harder than this. And that's it. And so that's kind of like a little warm up. And then I move from there to the sledgehammer. And you'll see in the video, what I do with this is you want to grab it by the very end of it, and you want to get your hands as close together as possible. Now what you're going to try to do is, see if I can do it in here. What you want to try to do is let that hammer lean as far back towards you as possible, and you're going to hold it there. So that as you walk and you rotate your hips, again, focusing on getting your feet where you want to go. So if I'm moving to the right, my feet are pointed to the right, and I'm turning my body against my hips towards the target. And what you want to do is let that sledgehammer tilt back as much as possible towards you and hold it there as you're moving. So what this does is, I found this has helped me. This may help you, it may not. But this has helped me strengthen this part of my wrist to simulate recoil, right? So when the gun recoils, it goes up this way. And this is typically your path of least resistance. So this is the part that I need to strengthen the most. So instead of being locked out here and then having a weak spot here, this is the path that I want the recoil to go. I want it to go this. These are like shock absorbers, right? JJ Racaza, Frank Proctor, Tony Cowden talk about having recoil management, or like springs in their arms, so that the recoil goes this way and not this way. Because this is going to be these are bigger muscles. This is smaller, so it's going to go like this. So by doing this, I'm allowing the recoil to come in here, and I'm strengthening this part. So what the sledgehammer does is, by leaning it back towards me, I'm having to use these muscles to hold it, to keep it from falling and hitting me in the face. That's the same muscles I use to hold the gun flat when it's cycling and the slide is moving back and forth. So as I'm walking, it's simulating, for me, it's simulating that recoil. It's not the constant back and forth like as if you're firing, but it's working those same muscles. And it works for me. And I'll do that a few times, and then once it feels good, I go both ways. And you'll notice in the video that as I go to the left, there is still that little bit of hesitation where I want to turn my right foot. But again, toes where I want to go, rotating up against my hips towards the target, and staying locked on. Last tool I use, Nerf guns. Nerf guns are invaluable. I actually stole these from my nephew. Josh, thank you. I'll bring them back, I promise. If James doesn't keep them. So the reason we use Nerf guns is, again, this is Quarantine Chronicles. So it's like, how can I work on this outside of the range? So you can do these drills in your backyard, in your front yard, out at the park. I did it at the park. I looked ridiculous doing this, but I still got the work in. But if you go out there and you get your tack belt on and you pull out your 2011 or your Tri-11 and you're working, somebody's probably gonna call the cops on you, right? It's not gonna end well. You do a Nerf gun, everybody thinks you're just dumb because you got a Nerf gun out there. So I had my TA target set up out there, shout out TA targets, and then I was just working this. But the reason I use Nerf guns is because it simulates the same position as if I'm holding a real gun. And what I'm working on here is not recoil management, it's not grip strength. I mean, I'm still gripping it just as hard, right? And I'm still working those same muscles, trying to keep those same muscles tense to keep the gun from recoiling this way as if I were actually firing. But what I'm focusing on with the Nerf guns is becoming accustomed to how the sights move up and down as I walk, right? Because as we walk, the sights bounce, they go up and down, especially as you're starting to get really that torque against your hips, and you're really turning against them, you start to see that bounce more and more. So what I'm doing is I'm using this, so in this case, it's just a dot, which I would, sort of simulates a red dot. But what I'm doing is I'm becoming accustomed to how that moves and knowing when I can press that trigger, right? So I'm ready, I'm prepped, bang, 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 so that I know that as I'm walking, so that when I go out and I'm going through this drill live with a real gun and real ammunition, I'm already used to how those sights move up and down. And I know where they're gonna stop and go back up, and I know where they're gonna come. So same thing, I'll switch over and I'll go to rifle, and I'm doing the same thing. I'm just watching my front sight to see how it moves as I go, especially as I go to my left, because you really have to really drive this side and squeeze up against these hips and kind of like drop this shoulder down to stay on target. You got to really drive when you're going against it. And that was one of the things that Brandon was working with us on and showing us on how we can improve our technique as we're going against our body, shooting to our strong side. And that's one of those things. It's just finding that sight, keeping everything else the same, and then just seeing how that sight tracks. So it's kind of this progression. You go from one tool to the next, and then what happens after this is you go out on range, you take all this, you put it together, and you go out and you shoot guns for real. Yes, it is not a real gun. It's dry fire, but these are all just tools to help us get better so that when we get out on range, we're more efficient with our time on range. So rather than going through the drill a bunch of times, just walking through it slowly and wasting that time on range, we can go out on range and know, okay, I've already done this. I've got like 1,000 reps on this because I've been working on it in the backyard, and I know what it's gonna feel like. So now all I'm doing is just getting used to that recoil impulse, right? That's it. So it's super simple, it works for me. Quick bonus, so this is a bonus. Back to the video that I posted. One of the other issues I had was getting into position to shoot. So breaking down, especially when I'm transitioning into a shooting position. So if you'll notice, we started at a barricade, fired a shot, we ran down range, and then you had to split off to the right or to the left. And when I went to the right, I overshot it. I didn't slow down enough. So what happened was, if you notice my footwork, it gets real choppy and my body's very erect and upright. But that's not an athletic position. That's not how athletes move. I remember I was photographing Jonas Polson, credible dude, incredible instructor. Jonas has done some stuff. Look him up. He was at Roberts Ridge. He did some stuff there. Just all around good dude, great shooter, great instructor. He's instructor for a TRIARC TTP program. But I remember watching Jonas break down as he went from full sprint into stopping behind a vehicle. And I have these photos, and there's this one photo where Jonas looks like he's literally just sitting on a chair and somebody photoshopped out the chair. But that's an athletic position. If you ever watch basketball players, soccer players, football players, running backs, when they're breaking down to cut, to move from one end to another, or they're coming to a stop, or they're breaking down to make a tackle, whatever it is, you see how low their center of gravity gets. And really good shooters, athletic shooters, competition shooters do that as well. And watching Jonas do that and then seeing myself on video, I knew that there wasn't that same correlation. So something else you can do is you take this same drill and then you just work coming into it, but you work on breaking down. Instead of taking a bunch of stutter steps and staying really high up, breaking down, getting that center of gravity low, breaking off to the right, and you'll see me do this break off to the right. I get low, and then as I break off to the right, then my momentum is slowed down, and then my body will slowly become more erect and stay on target. So that's just a little bonus thing you can work on, because it's just as important getting into a shooting position as it is shooting on the move. Because if you'll notice in that video, the first time I ran it to the right, I was halfway down before I even started firing a shot. And that had everything to do with my transition from sprinting into shooting on the move. That transition is so important, and that took up so much time for me to break off that first shot. But then when I came back around to the left side, I started breaking off the shot sooner, although I didn't run as fast because I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. Going back and watching film helped me to understand that I needed to break down sooner so that I could get that first shot off for faster, that accurate shot. That's it. That's all I got for today, guys. Hopefully that helps you improve your shooting on the move like it's helped me. Thankfully, I have a bunch of incredible dudes that help me constantly inspire me and challenge me to be better. So I hope that you guys are out working during this time and not wasting your quarantine time and getting that dry fire in. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Karate chop that bell if you haven't already to make sure you get notified every time I upload a video. And I will see you guys in the next one. My son has just gotten out the bath and is losing his mind running around the house naked. I know you guys have been asking about hats. They're coming. I'm going to release the Arctic Multicam. They're coming. They're on the way. I've actually got some right there, some more black hats. Just working on getting that website updated so you guys can purchase them and make it easier on you and me. Problem is, I had a whole bunch. I was ready to launch this and get them all out, but then my family came in and they were like, hey, we want hats. So a bunch of them are gone. So we'll have more out soon, I promise. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Thank you guys for supporting me. I really appreciate all the love and support you guys show. You guys are amazing. And I'm going to do my best to keep putting out content, and we'll see where this thing goes. See you guys in the next one. I'm not wearing pants. Fun fact.